Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the Dirty Derbs Racing YouTube channel. Today we are back on the LC9 build and we've got some goodies that we've been stacking up all week. So let's get to it. I'll show you what we got so far. So the motor hasn't changed since last weekend. Like I said, I haven't done much with it at all except for roll it underneath the bench. But we did take our heads to get cleaned and they look, not the bottoms don't look the greatest yet. I got to clean those up, but they got ran through like a hot tank and a sonic cleaner deal, and they look super fresh. So of course they do need a little bit more cleaning up on the edges and just kind of here and there. First things first with this, we have to lap the valves, and that's something I've done a couple of times. It's not something that I do very often, but we're here and all the valves are out. All of the exhaust seats look kind of pitted. Oops, sorry, there we go. Yeah, you can see that pitting in there. Not ideal. So some lapping compound and a drill will take care of that. I'll run you through on how I do that. Some of the stuff I may have went through last week already, but I did get some new stuff in. The BTR small bore head gaskets. I did get new lifter trays. I've got brand new BTR lifters. We've got that BTR stage 3 camshaft. I did just finally get in a valley cover plate and a timing chain cover. I have a lot of timing chain covers, but they're all for a Gen 3, and I needed the Gen 4 unit with the cam sensor in there. The valley cover plates, I like to use the, we'll call it like the LS3 style. These have the O-rings built in to the bottom of the plates. I know a lot of people use the bearings or the steel dowels that they hammer into the top of the block in the oil galleys. I don't really like hammering steel dowel pins into a cast aluminum block. Just doesn't sound great to me. I have done it. It works great. I know a million people do it every day and it works fine, but for me, bolting the plate on, being done, that's better in my eyes. But a million ways to skin a cat, and I'm just gonna keep using the plates instead of hammering the dowel pins in. So, other than that, oh yeah, I have decided that the 4.8 that came out of the S10. So this is the motor that we put in during Six Summer last year. We blew up the 408 and we put this motor in the S10 in a parking lot in the rain, and we did it start to finish in 4 hours, and we were driving the truck again. This motor had a bajillion miles on it, and throughout each day or each stop during the event last year, one day we put valve springs in. Another day we fixed exhaust manifold studs that were broken. A lot of that stuff we didn't mess with while we put it in, or before we put it in, I should say. After that, it did get a camshaft, and then after that, it did get head studs, at least on the bottom and the middle rows. We didn't even bother doing the top ones. So there is nothing wrong with this motor, but I am going to salvage the parts off of it. These springs were brand new when I put them in, and they've probably got, I don't know, probably less than 1,000 miles on it if I had to guess. So I am going to rob the valve springs out of this. They're just a BTR 660 lift, dual spring, titanium retainers, I think. I could be wrong on that. But regardless, we're going to use these springs, put them in the LC9. The camshaft was in here. The 6.0 at the house, it needed a camshaft, so I robbed the cam out of this thing already. I'm going to rob the springs off it, and somebody's probably going to need Gen 3 studs, so I'll probably rob those. And then the 4.8, I don't know. It'll probably just sit underneath the bench until somebody wants it. I bet Alan will want it. He always wants gems like this, so we'll push this guy underneath for now. I do need to rob the springs off this, like I said, so I'm going to be working on that here in just a couple minutes. Really, we just need to get started on the heads. So I think that's what we're going to do. getting started with the heads here. We're gonna start lapping the valves, and pretty simple task, really, pretty easy. Like I said, I don't do this all the time. I think the last time I did this was, I don't know, a couple years ago. But this is what we're gonna use. We got the valve grinding compound, or lapping compound, whatever you wanna call it. Basically, this is like a sandy grit type of lube, and I'll show you how I'm going to do it. But first things first, getting the valves in the head. Now, these heads just got cleaned and there's no oils on them, so I'm just gonna dip these in a little bit of oil, and just so they're not dry. Give them a little spin. Get the exhaust valves. We're gonna do the same thing. The valves are kind of dirty, no big deal. So once you got that done, get all the valves in, I will show you the next step. Let's push some of these in, get them out of the way. We're gonna start with the bottom one here. Okay, so this is how I do it. Drill. I think this is a 3/8 or 5/16 hose, like a fuel line. I just jam this in and into the chuck of the drill, tighten it down, and the opened end slides over the valve. Let's see if I can do this with one hand here. There we go. And pull it out just a little bit. And that's how you spin the valve, right? So we'll leave that there. But the main goal here is to get this compound on here, put the drill on, and like I said, you want to start off kind of slow, that way you don't fling the compound all over. And basically just turn the drill. I do go back and forth a little bit, in and out. The head's shaking and going crazy because the wet noodle I have for a connection here, but it's doing a good job. So that's the valve seat just after like a minute and a half of doing that, and it looks great compared to what it used to look like. I think we did a pretty good job. And on the valve side, that's kind of what they look like beforehand. And these are pretty dirty, but I'll try to clean them up before I put them in. But when it comes to that, like I said, it's not perfect, and we probably won't get it perfect. But I'm assuming that's going to do a way better job than that. So I got to finish this head up. I got a few more to do, move on to the next one, and then, man, oh yeah, we got to put some valve springs in. But after that, then the heads and the whole short block can go together into a long block, make it a long block. So, yep, just a little bit of work. Okay, so as you've seen in the time lapse, I got the valve lapping all finished up, and my main goal was to come in today and get some valve springs on these heads so they're done. And as I was just about to start doing the valve spring swap on the little 4/8, I realized that the keepers are the factory keepers on these, and that's not a big deal, but I think I want the ones with the titanium keepers, the new ones. And then I would have to get 2 sets of valve seals if I were to take these apart, because I would tear these valve seals up, taking them off. So then I would have to get a new set for the 4/8 if I put it back together. And then I'd have to buy a new set for those. So I think I'm just going to leave these springs on the 4.8 and just go buy a new set of springs. And that means I gotta wait another day to get these heads together. This has been a long, drawn out process, but there's still a little bit of work that I can get done. We can get this lift plate off. I very rarely use these things anyway. I use a chain from the front to the back. So I think I'm gonna pop this thing off. We'll get that new valley cover on, and then I could put the cam, the lifters, and the trays. I could put all that in the short block and get the short block together today. So I cleaned that surface up pretty good, made it nice and clean, made sure all the old gasket material was off of there, and got this new cover on here. It's just loosely on here, but time to move on to the camshaft finally. So this, like I've stated before, probably 4 other times, but this is a BTR stage 3 turbo camshaft at 0-50 is 224, 240 X, which I don't know why the X is there. I'm not sure on that, but anyway, 618. This is a pretty gnarly camshaft. That's the cam card. 114 LSA. So we're gonna put slap some Rotella on this camshaft, lube her up, slide her in, and then we can move on to the lifters. The lifters have been soaking for a week, maybe more. So yeah, we'll lube this thing up, slide it in the hole. Oh yeah, do that. It is also important to check the cam and make sure there's no like dings or nicks. I did get a brand new camshaft one time, not from BTR, I think it was from GM actually, but there was a slight nick on one of the journals, and it tore up a bearing pretty bad. So luckily I was able to fix it, but I just check every one, make sure you can't feel any ridges or dings, because that will tear up your bearings and eventually lead to not good stuff on the bearings. Probably throw a bearing out. So bearings on this motor actually look pretty good. I have no idea how many miles are on it. It's feeling pretty good, feeling pretty free. And you get your water pump bolts. I always give it some spins on each, there we go. Actually, I didn't lube this part up yet. Yep, feels perfect, right as it should. While I got my oily glove on, I'm gonna go ahead and start putting the lifters in. Okay, up next we got our cam retainer plate. And for those of you who don't already know this, these are pretty important. So this is a oil passageway. It shoots the oil from the one side of the block to the other side of the block. And this plate holds that oil in, and it's got a gasket right here. I don't always buy brand new ones of these. I mean, I do reuse them quite a bit, but I happen to have this brand new one here, so I'm going to use it. Sometimes if you take some cruddy ones off, this gasket is extremely flat. Well, most of them are going to be flat, but some of them are like really, really bad, and oil could bleed through and cause a little bit of oil loss. So, and I have been using these bat wings on my Gen 4 motors. I've had a ton of these sitting around, and I finally get to use them. All of my blocks have been Gen 3 blocks, and they don't have the 2 holes here in the block for the bat wing or the tensioner. So, okay, we're gonna start installing the valve springs and the valve seals. So we'll get started. The first step, I just take the valve seals and I just dip them in the oil a little bit so they're not going on dry. Also, if you haven't noticed, I have merch now. I have a whole website. I got t-shirts, hoodies, beanies. So the link is in the description, and it's also on my the bio or whatever on YouTube. So check that out. Get yourself a cool hoodie or t-shirt, hat. Anything helps. Keep this little dream alive here. I don't know where we'll be in a couple years, but maybe we'll be doing this full time. All right. After you get all those on, this is a valve seal install tool. It's just a little piece of aluminum with the right size orifice. Take a little hammer. And when you're hammering them down, you can feel when it stops. You can hear the difference. That's that. And it's time for the springs. All right. This I have to do without gloves. I have bought fancy spring tools, hated them to death. Come on. So I just got used to this, and it's fast, it's easy, and I like it. Of course, this one's being a little stubborn. There we go. On to the next. Come on. There she goes. All right. Probably just do a time lapse on the rest of these, get these things knocked out. and then we're ready to finally put them on. Okay, as you've seen in the time lapse, I got the head surface as clean as I can get it, and then I went ahead and did the block surface again. I had cleaned it once the other day, but I wanted to go over it again. Neither the block or the heads came out like perfectly how I wanted them. Obviously I didn't get these like surfaced or anything. They're just stock takeoff heads, but normally I get them to clean up a lot better than this. I don't know what's going on with these, but I mean, they look all right, but you can still see like some of the color. I just couldn't get that stuff off. I like sanded on it, and not to the point where I was like really taking material off, but enough as I was comfortable with. So I think I've seen a lot worse. We're just gonna go ahead and send it like I always do, and later on, if this thing has to come apart again, I think I will get the deck surfaced and maybe the head surfaced, but not right now. I'm just gonna send this unit. So I'm getting started on putting these dowels in, and if you remember in the last video, these are a machined dowel, not like the factory ones, what they come with. This is a solid like CNC, I think it's, I don't know what it is, billet? No, maybe it's steel. Either way, they do seem tighter in the block than a factory one, probably because the other style is like a it's like a pin style, so it can sandwich in, but these do not. So I'm gonna try a little bit of love tapping just with a brass hammer deal, and hopefully it gets to go in. But if I feel any resistance, I'm just gonna stop and try to clean up the surface a little better. But and it's tight, but they're going. Like that one went in good. Yeah, those are tight. All right, I'm gonna check it out and make sure the studs fit in these things, make sure I didn't ding them up too bad or anything like that, make sure they're straight, and then we will start putting the gaskets on. Okay, going back to the dowel pins. As you've seen, I kind of tapped them in, and they went in pretty tough, but not too bad. But I noticed that I mean, it seemed like they stick up a little higher than the factory ones do. And if you look inside, it does look like they're seated all the way down. But I just went and grabbed a factory one, and the aftermarket ones are just a little bit taller. Not much, but I was able to notice it right away. So that's a good thing. And of course, you always want to hammer those dowels into the block and not the head when you do that. The counter bore in the head is way deeper, and these things can actually sink all the way into the head and then not do their job whatsoever. So I have taken a lot of trucks apart
that the dowel pins are just jammed all the way in the head, so figured that I'd mention that. But this thing's ready to go. I'm ready to put gaskets on here and then studs, and we got to do one more step with the heads. So after my last video, my buddy Nate messaged me, and he was somewhat concerned about how it was drilling in through the head. And when I test fit the head over the studs, it was really, really hard to get on and off. So he wanted to know the drill bit size, because he gave me a reamer to ream out these. There we go. He gave me a reamer to ream out the holes, just to make sure the holes are as straight and smooth as possible. And that'll help a little bit with getting the heads on and off with the stud without taking the studs out of the block. So we will do one more session of drilling on these heads, and then they're ready to go on. Okay, so I'm just gonna spray a little bit of lube in each of these holes before I put the reamer through them. I already did the other head, and it worked great. So nothing crazy here, and this is not like a drill bit. A reamer is just to really help clean up the holes and make sure they're straight and true. Some of them were a little sticky. Just something like that could go a long way. So try to clean those off, hit another one. Some of them are a little tighter than others. Like this one is really tight. Well, here's for all the marbles. See how these things fit on here. Get everything cleaned and blowed out. Actually, what we're gonna do is spray this with a quick clean real quick. Just a little bit of oil on this head surface from reaming those out. There we go. Now we're ready. Okay, hopefully it slides on pretty nice. I think that's slightly better than what it was before I reamed it, but they're still not seated. There, that one goes. Might need a love tap. Oh, it's going. Not now, champ. In the freaking zone. Okay. Right before I was rudely interrupted, did get that head on. It was still pretty tight, but I think it was better than what it was before. And yeah, it did need a little bit of love tapping to get seated. Look how tight these are. That is crazy. They have to be like straight, or you kind of have to walk them on. Kind of hurts.
one's on the dowel. This one is not on the dowel yet. Like I said, I had to tap it a little bit to get seated on the dowel. There we go. Woo, those babies ain't going nowhere. All right, guys. Unfortunately, I am like completely out of time. We got the heads sitting on here. The washers are on there. We just got to get the nuts lubed up and then torque these heads down. So this will be kind of a 3-part video. I know these last couple of videos like haven't been super cool or entertaining, but it's cold. There's nothing going on. It's boring here. I had a full month of good racing content that was supposed to happen. That was supposed to be racing in Merrill, Wisconsin for the ice drags, and I was extremely excited for that. Unfortunately, there was not enough ice to do it, so they canceled the whole season. Big bummer, super big letdown, but what can you do? So right now I'm just kind of putting out some videos of just what I'm doing right now. I mean, it's just not a whole lot going on, but anyway, I appreciate you guys watching and subscribing. Check out the merch store, buy some cool hoodies, buy some cool shirts, hats, whatever, and I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks, guys. See you.